Dear Louis, nowadays people suffering from depression has become prevalent, and I wonder why. Is depression a matter of people not dealing well with their feelings and or emotions, or is there more to it? What is the cause of depression, and how can depression be healed? Okay, well, is depression a matter of people not dealing well with their feelings or emotions? Yes, in a matter of speaking, it is. Now, at the level of the absolute, at the point of origin, at the causal plane, depression, most all of the time, not 100%, but most of it originates, like pre-consciousness, it originates from willfulness. This innate, just belligerent, willful no. It's the mission statement of the human ego personality. I won't. I refuse. I won't. The big fat no. And when that gets repeated over and over, consciously, unconsciously, verbally, non-verbally, eventually it starts to flavor the mind and overtake the mind, and a shutting down starts happening. And when the shutting down, we're still at the unconscious level. The conscious mechanism is the no, the willful no. And then unconsciously, eventually, as this bank account keeps gaining interest, it starts reaching a form of critical mass within this own aspect. And then a shutting down starts happening. And that shutting down is called depression. So at some point, depression it becomes visible. The same way cancer begins invisibly with cell division, eventually when the cells divide enough, it becomes visible. When the willfulness, gains enough interest, it begins the shutting down. When the shutting down gains enough interest and becomes visible, the cell division reaches critical mass, it becomes visible in the form of depression. And then if the depression is not dealt with, the willfulness changing, the change in behavior, in attitude, in the way things are addressed, the willfulness and belligerence being replaced by obedience and surrender, if that doesn't get implemented, at some point, the depression will then overtake the physical body, and then illness and ailment, inertia, lack of mobility, lack of desire, lack of drive. The depression and if it gets bad enough, it becomes debilitating and to the point where it needs medical intervention in the form of psychological counseling, coaching, mentoring, and ultimately even in medication. It just keeps going and going. So as you can see by the progression that I laid out, it's important to nip it in the bud early. And preemptive strike is to look in your own life and consciousness and seek out areas where you can find yourself to be and know yourself to be very willful and belligerent and defiant. Again, it's in every human being to certain degrees, and on certain subjects more so than others. So the wise ones are the ones who will seek that out and engage others to help you see it and find it in yourself. Mentors, coaches, gurus, masters, whatever, psychologists. Seek that out, because that is a very detrimental way of being. It's a detrimental aspect of the ego's consciousness that does nothing but damage. And you also asked, is it also depression, can it be sourced by people not dealing with their feelings or emotions? Yes, that as well. And again, that still involves the no. Not dealing with is another form of no. So the no could be from doing a certain action or taking a certain course of action that God and your soul are guiding you to do, but it can also be not dealing with an emotion. Repressed anger, repressed sadness, repressed guilt, repressed whatever, avoidance, denial, escapism, that fight, as I was sharing with someone in an earlier question tonight, that fight, the person who was dealing with controlling, which she was calling being overly responsible, that the fight to be in control like that, it wears you down because it's an unnatural state. It's not our divine essence. So Willfulness is not our divine nature. Belligerence, defiance is not our divine nature. It's obedience, surrender, subservience, supplication is our divine attributes of our embodiments. So, in not dealing with emotions, yes, they will. That's another aspect, another form or implementation of a no, and that will eventually, when it gains enough interest, create depression as an avoidance technique. But again, now the depression becomes the illness, and that just starts to annihilate all areas of your life. So it's a very, very important subject, and it's important for people to know also, and very empowering to know, that you have a lot more power over this than you think. But where you'll make the greatest gains is by being proactive and making preemptive moves and strikes before it has gained so much interest that you become debilitated by it. I mean, once you get that far downstream, it's still able to be dealt with, but it takes more extreme measures, psychological intervention and sometimes medical intervention, which hopefully is just a temporary thing to get someone back up on track and to gain some ground.